following is an excerpt of a recent MORTradio broadcast. I guess in a way you could say it's case closed for Chris Watts. The investigation's concluded. The witnesses have come forward. The criminal has been caught. The victims are now buried. They've had their court proceedings. The families who've been involved with this have testified against Chris or against what he did. The sentences, all of them, life terms, were handed down. The police have finally released the discovery transcripts showing all the interviews, the interrogations, the video evidence, the audio evidence, the data evidence, all of it. And now you, me, and all of the general public can review the case in detail and then ask the question, why? Why would a seemingly normal acting man annihilate his entire family? Why would he take pillows and place it over the faces of his two children and smother them? Why would he wrap his hands around the neck of his wife and strangle the life out of her? Now you're going to hear a bunch of psychobabble as to the reasons why, whether it would be stress or financial difficulties or being in a life that he did not want to be in anymore. But the simple truth is, Chris Watts murdered his entire family because he was dealing with the most dangerous weapon in the world. And what is the most dangerous weapon in the world? It's poo. Not P-O-O, but P-U. Poo. Which is short for pussy. Now, obviously, when I use the term poo, it's to describe the vagina, a woman's vagina. It's slang for a woman's vagina. But it's not a derogatory term. Let me be very clear about that. It is not meant to be a derogatory term. It is it's a term of endearment. It is a term of respect because I love women. I think they're beautiful creatures. I love everything about women. But I also realize that poo is the most dangerous weapon in the world, that it can make men go insane, that it can make men do things they never dreamt they could do, like murder their entire family. Men will rob banks, set houses on fire, murder person after person. They will start wars over poo. And that's why it's considered the most dangerous weapon in the world. Funny thing is, it's very easy to control the most dangerous weapon in the world. It's so easy to control poo. Now, you don't have to be violent. You don't have to lock the woman away in some room, be overprotective, be a jealous maniac, not allowing them to talk to anyone. The only thing you have to do to control poo is to let the owner know that you're willing to walk away. To let the owner know that there's a lot of poo out there, and that if you're unhappy with her and her poo and her weapon, that you'll just simply walk away. This simple concept of what is the most dangerous weapon in the world and how to control it was not grasped by Chris Watts. And therefore, that's why he's now sitting in jail. This beta male, Chris Watts, had two poo in his life and couldn't really control either one. and because of such, resorted to violence like a dumb fucking brute and destroyed everyone's life, or at least everyone in his immediate family. All because he didn't know how to control poo. Now, it goes without saying that Chris was unhappy with Shannon, but because he was a beta male, he wasn't able to rectify it. He didn't have the guts to either work it out or walk away. No, instead, because he's a beta male and feels like he needs a woman in his life at all times, he decided to start fucking Nicole Kessinger, which she gladly accepted. Now, to hear Nicole tell her side of the story, she'll claim that, well, she was a victim too, that Chris lied to her about his marital status, lied to her about him and his wife being separated and getting a divorce, and it was going to be finalized, and they could have a life together. And to that, I have to kind of say, that's just a bunch of happy horse shit. And that's a bullshit story on Nicole's part. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think in any way whatsoever Nicole Kessinger was responsible or directly involved with the murder of Shannon Watts and her children. In no way whatsoever do I believe that. I believe she's completely innocent in that regard. And I do believe that, well, Chris probably lied to her sometime, sure. But to say she came into this blindly and that Chris manipulated her into believing a certain lifestyle for them both, again, it's just happy horse shit. It's bullshit. She's lying. Now, to hear Nicole tell it, she didn't know anything about Shannon Watts until the summer months of 2018 when her and Chris started talking. But we know that's bullshit because, according to the discovery transcripts, Nicole Kessinger was doing internet searches of the name Shannon Watts back in September 2017. Now, why she was doing this internet search for the name Shannon Watts, well, you would have to ask her to get the straight answer. But some people would suspect it was because Nicole Kessinger wanted to see who her competition was, that perhaps she had some kind of secret crush on Chris for some time, and then the opportunity presented itself, and Nicole just seized upon it. And to hear Nicole tell it, as she told the police, she kept telling Chris that she wanted to take it slow, that maybe he should work on fixing his marriage. Yet, at the same time, according to the discovery transcripts, Nicole Kessinger was doing internet searches during their love affair, doing internet searches for wedding dresses and how men marry their mistresses. That's a strange contrast between the image she's trying to portray as saying, well, I made a mistake by sleeping with a man who was separated and not divorced, but I did tell him I wanted to take it slow. Why I look up wedding dresses and how men should marry their mistresses, and that he should work on his marriage. Why all the time I'm fucking him 6 ways to Sunday. Believe me, Nicole Kessinger knew Chris Watts was a beta male. She could smell it a mile away. She knew she had him tagged. She roped a dope and had no problem doing it. She knew. She understood that poo is the most powerful weapon in the world. And she knew that Chris Watts was a big, fat target. So Nicole may say that she's a victim, that Chris lied to her, but I call bullshit. She went into this with her eyes wide open. She knew what was going on as far as his marital status. Yeah, he was separated, but he wasn't divorced. He wasn't on his own. She looked at it and said, I see that he has a wife. I see that he has 2 kids. And you know what? Fuck it. I don't care. I want to fuck him anyway. That's the simple truth. She can talk about victimhood all she wants, but that is just the simple truth. She just didn't care. She just thought, I'm going to fuck him anyway. And this is why, as I said, poo is the most dangerous weapon in the world. And so in the end, everybody loses. Obviously, Chris Watts lost. He now sits in a jail cell, like I said, and he's going to die there, either because of old age or because another inmate gets to him. The grandparents, they lose. They've lost their grandchildren, as well as their children, either because their child was murdered or their child went to jail because of that murder. Obviously, Shannon Watts lost. She was murdered by her husband, strangled to death, and then buried in a shallow grave. But the ones who lost the most were the children, Bella and Celeste. Not only were they murdered, smothered to death, and placed in vats of oil and water, but the person who did all this was their father. And that was the last image they both had prior to their death, is seeing their father killing them. Seeing the person that was supposed to protect them take their life. So they lost more than anyone in this. But if you want me to think that Nicole Kessinger also is a victim, that she has lost too, I'm not going to. But I actually have a reason why I'm not going to. Because in one of the last entries in the discovery transcripts, it shows that Nicole Kessinger did an internet search on Amber Frey, her book deal, her net worth, and whether people are still angry with Amber Frey. Now, Amber Frey was the, I guess, in search of a better word, the mistress of Scott Peterson, who, as everyone knows, was found guilty of murdering his wife and child, or unborn child. So even though with all this ugliness and death, murder, misery, Nicole Kessinger is researching book deals. She's allowed to. That's her right. But it does show kind of what her mindset is right now. Pretty much what it was like back when she was dating Chris Watts, which is what's best for her. Much like when she was interviewing with the police, being interrogated, her mindset is what's best for her. And at the end of all this, that again is what her mindset is. What is best for her? So as I said, Nicole Kessinger isn't guilty of murder. She didn't plan any of this. She wasn't involved in any way. And I 100% believe that. And anyone who thinks differently is a fool. That woman, Nicole Kessinger, is innocent of that kind of crime. But she isn't innocent as far as morals are concerned. She knew what she was doing, and she did it anyway, no matter how wrong it was. Nicole Kessinger made the choice to fuck Chris Watts, who was nothing more than a beta male who did not understand the theory nor understand how to control the most dangerous weapon in the world, and because of such, he murdered his entire family. And what was Nicole's response to that? She researches about Amber Frey's book deal and her net worth. Well, she can if she wants to. If Nicole wants to write a book, then by all means write it. But don't kid yourself. Don't fool yourself. If it wasn't for the fact of this crime being as horrific as it is, no one would give a rat's ass about anything you would have to say. And let me make something else perfectly clear as well. If you do decide to write a book telling your side of the story and reap profits from that book, are nothing more than blood money. Money made because a woman and 2 kids were murdered and you were indirectly involved with that. You were the mistress to the man who murdered his entire family. Now, if you do feel horrible about what has happened, horrible about what possibly you have done to create this scenario, maybe what you should do instead of researching book deals by Amber Frey, maybe what you should do instead is be humble. Maybe thankful. Thankful that you didn't end up like Shannon Watts and her 2 children. That you weren't put into a shallow grave. Maybe you should be thankful for that and humbled by it. Because all of us make mistakes in our lives, and obviously what you did, which was to have an affair with a married man, was a mistake. But we are supposed to learn from our mistakes, and we are supposed to be humbled by them. And that's the path perhaps you should follow. Be humble, and most of all, be silent.